Every cycle this happens. The market dumps, fear explodes, and the headlines scream doom. Then, just like clockwork, most investors make the same mistake. They end up selling at the worst possible time, lose conviction, and they miss the step, the opportunity that could change everything. But the big money, they move differently. And if you know what to look for, you'll see it too. So in this video, I'll break down the data, the signals, and the opportunities hiding in this chaos. We'll further discuss the method in Trump's seeming chaos and explain how this too should pass very soon, and much sooner than we all think, actually. So don't blink, don't miss this opportunity, because the opportunity to accumulate will not stay available much longer. So hello guys, my name is Jessica. Welcome to my channel if you're new. And without further ado, let us get started with today's video. Okay, so starting briefly with Bitcoin's price, you'll see Bitcoin is at virtually the same price it was the last time I made a video. It's sitting right around 82,500 and some change, which once again, we're trending sideways, but it's really important to look behind the scenes to see what's going on. So let us keep going. That said, as you can see on my screen, it looks like the altcoins today, the alternative coins, have been rallying. So this is actually good news and interesting news, but let us keep going. A few pieces of data for you to be aware of. We'll run through these quickly, but you would see here, as shared by Bitcoin Munger on X, that leverage has been wiped out. And he goes on to say that only psychopath holders or hodlers will get into Bitcoin Valhalla. Now, if you know anything about Valhalla, you would know it's the place that gods go to fight their final battle with each other. So only winners get to Valhalla. Common lingo in the crypto space. You're probably aware if you've been in the space for some time, but anyway, moving on, basically what this says is that everyone who was a short-term, quick trader, just trying to make, quick money, they've been wiped out. And the only people remaining are the people with true conviction in why they're holding Bitcoin. So ultimately, that's really, really good for the space, because it means that Bitcoin is in true hodlers, diamond hands that will not just be selling on Bitcoin because the price drops a little bit. So what else is going on? Here you can see, as shared by Benjamin Cohen, who is the CEO and founder of ITC Crypto. He basically shows this chart to us that indicates, and it's so interesting actually, this is the highest daily close for Bitcoin dominance in the whole cycle. Now, this is interesting because if you are familiar with crypto and you've been around for some time, then you would know that we need Bitcoin dominance to go down, so then that value flows therefore into altcoins. So the fact that Bitcoin dominance is still up, well, it doesn't signal to altcoin season kicking off. So maybe it's not so positive in that way. But remember, things move on the daily. So this is where we are now. Tomorrow could be different. But that said, what I'm getting to here is that it does signal that the market sees Bitcoin as a safe asset, a safe haven from the volatile marketplace. So it is a good signal fundamentally. It says that the crypto space anyway, the Bitcoin OGs and like the real diehard crypto believers that understand crypto fundamentally, they're moving their money into Bitcoin. So it's ultimately a really good thing. Next, we would see that this was shared by Rect Capital, that is an investor and analyst. Anyway, it's an analyst type forum or journal. And anyway, they share this chart. So let us zoom in on it. And basically it says that in the last few times, so currently RSI right now is here at the bottom. Not sure if you can see it, but it's sitting right around 44.72. And the last few times that Bitcoin dropped into the RSI, this level of 44, where this blue line is, it basically signaled to the fact that Bitcoin was virtually at its lowest bottom price. So ultimately, this is also good news for us all, especially for those that are new to the space and fear that Bitcoin will just drop, continue to drop. This is good because, it basically signals to the fact that we're basically looking at the bottom here. Typically, it comes slightly shortly after the RSI reaches this level, but it's not long after. So we are basically looking at the bottom of Bitcoin's price, which of course signals it's going to go up from here. Next, a few more interesting data points to pay attention to is that apparently whales have accumulated over 65,000 Bitcoin recently, as CryptoQuant here shares on X. Despite the recent correction, whales have been accumulating. This has not been scaring them off, as I said in the intro. Old money whales, they know this is the time to accumulate, because from here, especially as the RSI was signaling on the previous slide that I showed you, this is the bottom. So if this is the bottom, where does it go from here? It goes up. So savvy investors, those who know the way the market is, the way the market moves, they know now is the time to buy. And that is what this chart signals to all of us. So it indicates that there's high buying pressure, as we read here, from large participants, from large network participants. So once again, if you want to make it, you need to follow smart money. You need to follow what people more experienced than you know and do. And this is why I bring you this information, both from personal experience and from those that I'm still learning from. So this is why I share it with you. Next, well, this sort of piggybacks off of what I was sharing earlier with you here, but apparently, yeah, we're seeing Bitcoin being accumulated at levels that we have never seen before. These pink lines indicate new inflow, and you can see how they're spiking. They're dramatically up. So of course, if this Bitcoin is being purchased by whales, by big holders, and they're typically in the know-how and know how to read markets, then what does this tell us? It tells us it's a time to accumulate and not to be afraid. And then next, we're going to pivot into more macro news, because we know that crypto is not a world in of its own. It's definitely part of the larger macro market. And so if you followed my last videos, you would know that there are so many theories and conversation going on as to, why the tariff wars, although we know that's calmed down a little bit. But let's just read what Nick here has to say. And Nick is actually the CEO and co-founder of Coin Bureau. And he harps in on this point. And he says, is Trump trying to crash the markets and bring a recession? It's well known that the Trump administration is trying to bring down long-term interest rates, especially 10-year US Treasury yields. That's achieved by either reducing the supply and or increasing demand for the bonds. On the demand side, more investors that buy these bonds, the lower the yields fall. So if investors are panicking and selling out of risk-on assets like stocks, they would generally move into risk-off assets like bonds. So by creating the uncertainty in the market and bringing down stock prices, Trump is creating the right investor conditions to bid US bonds. And in terms of a recession, well, we're going to watch a video here in a second, but I don't believe we're going to go into a recession, just as my own commentary here. But if we do, let's read what Nick has to say. He says, if the US heads into a recession and the labor markets collapse as a result, the Fed will be forced to act. I've said this in my past videos as well. So already Fed fund futures are pricing in over 3 cuts this year, and the probability is rising fast. It's well known that Besant meets on a weekly basis with Powell, and there is no doubt that some coordination is taking place. Thank goodness. The harder the crash, the quicker the cuts. And once rates are near zero and growth is still lackluster, the Fed could turn on the taps for quantitative easing, basically printing money, right? It's almost exactly the same playbook from the 2008 recession. And if you don't think Powell will act independently, let's remember who his ultimate boss is. Long-term outcome. So if the goal is a lower budget deficit, lower interest rates, and a reshoring of American jobs, then it seems as if the Trump administration is willing to take the pain in the short term. He even said that. Either way, brace for more short-term uncertainty, but that's sad. Let's watch this next video clip, because I don't think it's going to last so long. And then stay tuned for the rest of the video, because I'm going to share what is happening in the market and why I believe all of the short-term pain is going to be over very soon. And we're going to celebrate the wins in the macro space as well. So let us listen to what Caroline Leavitt has to say here.
Launched in June 2021. He's also a former member of the White House Correspondents Association, but is now a part of the thriving independent media. We're very happy to have you with us here today.
Let's start here.
Our briefing. Thank you.
Really appreciate you having me, Caroline. A couple of questions for you, if I may. First on the stock market. So currently it's the 25th anniversary today of the dot-com bubble crash. There's a lot of concern for a lot of Americans right now about the state of the economy. President Trump has refused to rule out a recession. Secretary Lutnick, however, has told us there will not be one. So can the White House just tell and assure Americans today that there's not going to be a recession?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. So let me start by saying that, first of all, when it comes to the stock market, the numbers that we see today, the numbers we saw yesterday, the numbers we'll see tomorrow are a snapshot of a moment in time. And as President Trump has said, and I'm here to echo the remarks of this president of this White House, we are in a period of economic transition. We are in a period of transition from the mess that was created under Joe Biden in the previous administration. Joe Biden left this country in an economic disaster. Several statistics to point out. The delinquency rate on credit card loans increased 63% under Joe Biden, hitting a near 12-year high. Under Joe Biden, all net job growth went to foreign-born Americans. Real wages declined by 1.5% under Joe Biden. And as we all know, and this administration continues to combat, prices soared more than 20% under Joe Biden because of his reckless spending and economic policies. So we are in a period of transition from that economic nightmare under a president who had no idea what he was doing, never held a private sector job in his life, into a golden age of American manufacturing under a businessman and a deal maker in chief in President Donald J. Trump, who is implementing the formula that we know works. Look at President Trump's results in his first term. If people are looking for certainty, they should look at the record of this president. That's why the American people reelected him back to this office. And look at everything that President Trump has already done and his team has already done in just 51 days. The massive efforts to deregulate, tax cuts, which we need Congress to pass the Trump economic agenda, the Trump tax cuts, which will unleash economic growth. And the president also addressed this directly, I will point out as well, when you look at what he said on Air Force One, and he said he wants the American people to have so much money in their pockets they don't even know what to do with it. That's the intent of this administration, and we're working very hard every day on that goal.
Second question.
How awesome, right? Like a good parent. That's what I feel like. I'm not a parent yet, but I feel like if I had kids, and this is what I wish for my family, and this is in large part what got me into crypto and what continues to drive me in crypto, is it's not just about retiring yourself, it's about retiring your family. And that it would be my goal, you know, for my mother and for my extended family in Bolivia, would be that they have so much money they don't know what to do with. And this just makes me really happy because it just sounds like words a parent would tell their kids, you know, and it's awesome that Trump thinks that way regarding America. So moving on, some more good news. As I said, the rest of this video will be finishing off with just great news for you guys. So first is that inflation is down to 1.35% according to Trueflation, and this is the lowest America has seen in the last 4 years, guys. Next, there's speculation, and not just by anybody. This is by Nick Tiramos, a chief economist, economics correspondent of the Wall Street Journal and author of the $1 Trillion Triage. And he comments on this based off of all his education and his experience that apparently inflation is expected to be much milder for February than it was for January. Although, of course, January was quite high. So it doesn't say very much, but it does speak of the fact that it's coming down, and it speaks of sentiment. And we know that sentiment and emotions actually do drive the market. Expectations do manifest into market conditions in many ways. So this is really good speculation, actually. Following that, according to Kobesi letter, we can see that now markets are seeing a base case for at least 3 rate cuts in 2025, with rising approximate 45% chance cuts of 4 rate cuts this year. So this is fantastic. And I guess markets are now seeing a 50-50 chance of rate cuts being as soon as May. Now, keep in mind that I believe it's on the 19th. So coming up here soon that there will be another statement by the FOMC, by Jerome Powell. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But I think it might come in sooner, but at latest, it sounds like it'll be in May. That said, some more good news on tariffs. The US has now said it will no longer be doubling its tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum to 50% after Ontario suspended their 25% electricity tariff. And this is according to the Guardian newspaper or journal, whatever it is. So this is great. And this actually, once again, points to the fact that in many ways, the tariffs are just part of a negotiation pawn, right, on the chessboard. So this is great. So it sounds like conversations behind the scenes, not to speculate too much, but it sounds like whatever they were negotiating there is starting to come to an end because these announcements are coming every day. I'm loving how fast this administration works. Not only that, but apparently, according to Jake Chervinsky, the House just overturned the Biden administration's DeFi broker rule, which would have forced providers of non-custodial software to KYC users. So the vote was 292 to 131. So they won by a large majority. And the Senate vote last week was a 70 to 27 win. So this is amazing. And this signals to the fact that the anti-crypto army is defeated. Like, it's official, guys. What else is going on? So here we can see also, this is probably like the cherry on the ice cream cake, or however you want to think about it. This is probably the best news for me of the day, is that the implementation, this was shared by David Bailey, who goes on to say, the implementation of the strategic Bitcoin reserve is far tighter than the market anticipates. The timeline measured in days and weeks, not months or years. So basically it's going to be implemented very, very soon, and much sooner than everyone thought or was speculating. So that said, guys, that is a wrap for today's video. I hope you gained value. I hope you're excited, and as excited as I am for the changing times as we're seeing unfold right before our very eyes. We have front row seats, and it's so exciting. And I hope that in the meantime, you don't get overwhelmed or swallowed or, distracted or, worried by current market conditions, because this is just temporary. It's a transitionary period, and the market is going to rally. We just don't know exactly how, but it will. It so will. With so much macro good news, it's bound to explode soon. And in the meantime, we just need to be good. We need to follow smart money. We need to accumulate more Bitcoin if we can, and top crypto blue chip altcoins that are here to actually change the world. And I will catch you guys here tomorrow. Take care.